This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For connectors, cables, and more, call 920-435-2973 or visit pl-259.com. And by ICOM. Heard it, worked it, logged it. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information about ICOM radios.
It's Ham Radio.
Hello, everyone out there in cyberspace. This is Ham Talk Live, episode number 307, CQ Worldwide CW. It's recorded live on Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. I am your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ham Talk Live. Tonight we're joined by John Dorr, K1AR, from the CQ Worldwide CW Contest. Last episode, Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB, was here to talk about new kits and new tools. If you missed that show, you can listen anytime at hamtalklive.com or on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. And make sure you check that out. Okay, it was a pretty good one. Well, we're going to talk a little CW here with John and what's coming up in this contest at the end of the month. So we'll do that right after this word from ICOM America right here on Ham Talk Live. Keep your competitive contesting edge with ICOM. Our high-powered base stations cut through pile-ups, letting you work the bands and record those contacts. Contests from the comfort of your own home or remotely with the RSBA One app. Heard it, worked it, logged it. The IC7851 gives you a new window into the RF world and is HF excellence unparalleled. With faster processors, high input gain, high display resolution, and a cleaner signal, it is truly the pinnacle of HF perfection. It has dual receivers, digital IF filters, memory keyer, digital voice recorder, Spectrum waterfall display, and an SD card slot. The IC7610 is the SDR every ham wants. This high-performance SDR can pick out faint signals in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. The IC7610 by ICOM is a direct sampling, software-defined radio that has changed the world's definition of an SDR transceiver. It has 110 dB RMDR, dual digicel, dual receiver, and RF direct sampling. Create your own band opening with the IC9700. This transceiver radio brings direct sampling to the UHF VHF weak signal world. It's loaded with innovative features that are sure to keep you busy. Faster processors, higher input gain, higher display resolution, and a cleaner signal. With a 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectroscope and waterfall display, dual watch operation, full duplex in satellite mode, and smooth satellite operation with 99 satellite channels. The IC7300 is a high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design that will far exceed your expectations. The innovative transceiver digitizes RF before various receiver stages, reducing inherent noise in different IF stages. The IC7300 changed the way entry-level HF is designed. It has 15 discrete bandpass filters, the large color touchscreen, Spectrum scope, SD card slot, and RF direct sampling. The real HF fun starts here. Visit icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios.
Copy 594 from Ham Talk Live.
Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. Tonight, John Dorr, K1AR, joins us on the Orlando Amateur Radio Club and Hamcation Zoom line. We want to thank the Orlando Club and Hamcation for providing that Zoom service for us. John, K1AR, was named the CQ Worldwide DX Contest Director back in 2018. He's been a member of the CQ Worldwide Contest Committee since the mid-1970s and was CQ Magazine's contesting editor from 1989 until 2011. He's also a two-time World Radio Sport Team Championship medalist and was elected to the CQ Contest Hall of Fame in 1997. So, John, welcome back. Thanks for coming back to the show.
All right. I'm excited to be here. And you sure that was me you were talking about?
Yeah, it was. It was. Sometimes when people hear those bios, they're like, oh, wow. I did that?
Who was that guy?
Well, last time you were here, we were talking about a youth initiative that kind of started some youth categories in the CQ Worldwide Contest, and we can talk about that a little bit later in the show. But CQ Worldwide CW is coming up, and I got a chance to actually get on the radio for a while and operate the sideband contest. Picked up several new countries, all-time new ones, and so that was great, and I think things went really well there. But we've got CW coming up, so tell us all about the CW contest, when it is, how people can participate, what's the exchange, where can they find the rules, all that good stuff.
Sure. Well, the best place to go for information in general is to the CQ Worldwide website, which is cqww.com. And there's just a ton of resource there, everything from the rules for the contest to awards programs and results. You can enter your call in and look at every CQ Worldwide you've entered. And we have records going all the way back to the beginning in 1948, which is a little before my time. So the CQ Worldwide has in recent years really continued to grow in popularity. And this upcoming CW edition, which is always on the last weekend of the month of November, will be nothing short of spectacular, I think, because we have a little gift that we've been given, and that is the sun is waking up a little bit.
Yes.
And with as often said, there's no meters like 10 meters, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to be a great time, and I think there's enough resiliency in what the sun's given us that even if we have some solar disturbances, things are still going to be good, because the Worldwide has, I often say, has magical powers. It can just
yes, it does
turn the bands on no matter what's going on with the sun. So
yeah, I heard this theory that the ionosphere actually changes with contests, that all the contest activity actually ionizes the layers and everything, and all of a sudden there are people on the bands.
It's one of the secret keys that they gave me when I became director. I can.
Oh, you can turn it on and off. Very good.
If I'm operating and the competition's way ahead of me, just flip that baby off and and then there you go. But we really, all kidding aside, have really grown in the phone section here last month. In October, we are now creeping up on 8,900 logs, close to 9,000 logs. That literally represents millions of QSOs being made. Probably in the range of 40,000 people are getting on the air. Not all of them submit logs, obviously, because we only get 9,000 of them. But say some 40,000 people are getting on, and in some way or fashion to operate the contest. And that's really the message for anybody who's listening here, is that the beauty of the Worldwide is it's a great contest just to flip on the radio and have a little bit of fun. And your definition of fun is whatever you want to make it. It could be a couple hours on Saturday morning before the family wakes up, or you could be a crazy man like me and do it all weekend for 50 straight years.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys like me, I guess, out there that have been going at this for as long as we have, and I guess you kind of have to ask the question, why do we do that? And for me at this point in operating it all I do it just because it's fun, and I do it because I enjoy the camaraderie of working other guys and all that comes with it. And, and it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of solar activity to kind of spice things up, as I said before. So, you can now with a marginal antenna system still get on and either work new countries or, work the most guys you've ever worked in an hour, or beat your friend across town, whatever gets you excited about this stuff, that's what's in it for you.
Yeah, I was very casual in my approach to sideband here a few weeks ago. Just, did 2 or 3 hours, took a break, came back, did a couple hours later that night to get a little, different band, different propagation, and then the next day came in and just kind of rode out the end of the contest. When things were kind of thinned out a little bit, and I went country searching and just started spinning the knob and trying to find some of those, and was able to get several of them. I'm still waiting on all the confirmations to come in to see if I got the new DXCC count of 100. Started over on that. So, been right there on the edge, and I'm hoping that CQ Worldwide Sideband finished that off for me, but we'll see how that goes. But this is CW. So after all the turkey and the tryptophan and everything, you're supposed to stay awake and work CW.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, that one thing that, certainly the Worldwide and other big contests are proving is that for the naysayers out there that are sort of saying CW is a thing of the past, CW is dead, and all of that, boy, you just got to take a listen during this upcoming weekend, and let's just say 20 meters, for example, you're going to find signals from the bottom all the way up to the top. And, 14,000 up to 100 and actually even above that. And it's just wall to wall madness. There's on any given Worldwide weekend, round numbers, there's a couple hundred countries that are actually on the air. So a significant line share of DXCC is actually operating. And now that, what we all hope is the COVID pandemic being behind us for the most part, you're starting to see the DXpeditions and the people traveling and putting interesting places on the air, and it's becoming almost back to the good old days again, where some people would argue the Worldwide's a good tune-up for the Bouvet expeditions coming up.
Yes. Indeed. Well, let's talk a little bit about the exchange for people who maybe haven't done CQ Worldwide CW before, or maybe some people that are just casually on the air and there's a contest. What should I give to people who I work? Let's go over the exchange and how that works.
Sure. So I think one of the attractions of the CQ Worldwide in particular is the simplicity of the contest. And what I mean by that is when you get on and work other folks in the contest, you simply exchange a signal report 599 and your CQ zone. So there's 40 of them divided around the world. You can look up your zone on the CQ website. But as an example, on the East Coast of the U.S., your zone is 5. If you're in Western Europe, your zone is 14, and so forth. And just simply sending a call and a 599 and the zone and getting the same in return is all you have to do. A lot of people ask me, do I have to pre-register? Do I have to do anything? There's only one requirement, and it's a fairly significant one. It takes a lot of thought. But what you have to do before any CQ Worldwide is sit down in front of your radio and turn it on. And once you have accomplished that task, you are ready to rock and roll. And it's really that simple.
And let's go over the official start and end times and dates here. Make sure we've got everybody on the same page here.
Sure. So it's a 48-hour contest in total. You can operate anywhere from 48 hours to 30 seconds. So again, that's just a function of what your schedule and perhaps what your spouse allows, or other significant people.
Yes.
One of the challenges of this contest, and we deal with this except once in 10 or 11 years, is this thing called Thanksgiving in the U.S. And, of course, this is Thanksgiving weekend, and there's always that balancing act. But so the contest is this year is going to be starting on the evening of the 25th, the 26th GMT, and run through Sunday, the 27th of this year. For 48 hours. Like I said, one of the nice things about the Worldwide is there's also a category, there's many categories. We can get into a lot of detail on that, but one of the areas that has become really popular is we created this idea of the classic entry. And what that thing, think of it like the classic car, we're all, many of us are becoming antiques, so we can probably relate to this to some degree. But, back when I was a young pup, that doing 48 hours was not a big deal. But as we say mature, the idea of being up for 48 straight hours physically is a pretty big challenge. So we created this idea of a 24-hour window that you can operate. And it's really, the idea is just a boy and his radio. And what I mean by that is we've stripped away all the other things that people are doing, such as SO2R, meaning using 2 radios. We've taken away spotting, and it's just a basic get on for 24 hours. And you can operate more than that, by the way, but the 24 hours is what will count for your actual score. And that's it. And then in terms of the actual scoring for the CQ Worldwide, one of the things that is, I think, important to know is that, you can submit a log and you really don't even have to worry about your score, because we ended up calculating them all anyway. So it's not something you have to get too hung up on, but, it fundamentally comes down to, multiplying the number of countries and zones that you work in the contest by the number of QSOs that you make. And QSOs have a certain number of points assigned to them. And all this is written down in a very clear way in the rules that I would suggest anybody take a peek at, because we're always changing little things. Sometimes we do bigger things in rule changes. This year we did not. But we're always doing things like creating new categories, such as the focus on youth that we did last year as a new thing, and other kinds of things. There's also tons of awards. We have something on the order of close to 200 plaques available, and I kind of struggle and wrap my head around that as I'm the guy that gets to prepare all those and send them out. But it's all part of the excitement around the contest. The most popular contest with the best awards program reaching the most number of people in the world in one weekend. It doesn't get any better than that.
Oh, yeah. You bet. Well, we're talking with John Dorr, K1AR. He is the director of the CQ Worldwide DX Contest and a member of the CQ Worldwide Contest Committee. And we're talking about CQ Worldwide CW coming up Thanksgiving weekend here in the U.S. Yeah, let's dig into the categories a little bit. You talked about the classic overlay, that's an option to kind of trim out 24 hours and kind of simplify things a little bit. But let's dig into those categories. And you mentioned the youth, which of course is one that's near and dear to my heart because I do so much with that. But there are some rookie things and others that will give a chance for some people to enter, and you just never know. You know, sometimes you might be the only one to enter that category. So what are the choices here for categories?
Well, the category definition in the worldwide was really designed to give people as many different options as is reasonable. And without going completely crazy in terms of making everybody a winner, so to speak. But fundamentally, they come down to the idea of operating by yourself as a single operator or operating as a group, meaning a multi-operator situation. And then within the construct of that, as a single op, for example, you may have station that specializes in mediocrity on every band but say 15 meters. And at 15 meters, you got a 700-foot tower with stacked Yankees up and down it, and that's what you got, right? So, you might be the kind of person who says, you know what, I'm gonna enter the single operator, single band 15 meter category, and that would be for you, right? Or you might want to do 20 or 40 or whatever. So that's one way to slice it. Another way to slice it is high power, low power QRP. There are people who, through the bottom of the sunspot cycle, have entered QRP every year. God bless them. If you want to win a category, a good shot of winning a category would be to enter single op QRP 10 meter monoband at the bottom of the cycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably win that category or certainly be in the top couple. And believe it or not, people do that. And that's their idea of having fun, right? So in the multi-op category, there's the idea of multi-single, meaning you and just you and a group and a single transmitter. You can have multi-two, where you can have two transmitters going at the same time, or you can have a room filled with equipment and a room filled with people and have what's called multi-multi, which is kind of the granddaddy of all of this. And everything in between. And then to make it a little more interesting, we added a few extra what we call overlays or special categories. So I already mentioned the 24-hour classic. We've mentioned the youth. So if you're 25 or under, you can essentially now compete against your peer group from an age point of view. We also have a rookie category where if you've been licensed just for 3 years, I think it is, a couple years, you can enter that as a rookie and compete against other rookies and see how you do against other newer folks, as opposed to trying to only compare your score against somebody who's been doing it for 100 years and kind of say, well, that's not fair. So it's another way to just, have interest created and make it special for you. Right. And then we just kind of go from there. So with all of these categories and groupings, of course, it makes it, challenging, frankly, when you get 9,000 logs coming in to kind of keep all this straight. And believe it or not, in years gone by, when I was in the early days of doing this, everything was on paper. And I'll never forget the one fatal question I asked one of my predecessors, Bob Cox, K3EST, back when I first discovered this thing called the CQ Worldwide and the contest committee and all that. I went to his house, and in his family room, he had all these boxes all over the room. And I asked him one fatal question. I said, "Hey, Bob, what's in those boxes?" Fast forward 40 years, and now I'm directing the contest, right? But what was in those boxes were all the paper logs from those days. And somehow, again, more in this magical power thing, somehow we managed to figure out how to receive logs from hundreds of countries, tabulate them all, get them into a format that we could then send to CQ, get them to figure out how to put that into a format that could result in a magazine, have that magazine get shipped to a newsstand in New Delhi, and have an Indian ham pick up his copy of CQ and see his call sign on page 96. And somehow that's happened year after year after year now for over 70 years in the CQ Worldwide.
Yeah, and now we've got those nice little contest robots to go through and
indeed
crunch all those numbers. Here's a question for you. How long does it take to run through once you've got all the logs? How long does the computer take to figure out all that stuff?
It's we've been constantly upgrading our systems. It's all largely PC based, so it's not like we have a Cray supercomputer running in a secret military location. But the run of the logs is under an hour, and it's got faster and faster over time to do that. What's interesting now is with computers, and we should probably talk a little about what it takes to actually submit a log, which I'll help you with here in just a second. But with computers now, we actually are able to produce what we call the raw scores, or the preliminary results, that it's just what everybody claimed they did, and we tabulate it all, and we publish a set of results, and we published that for the phone contest 6 days after the contest, where we had at that time probably about 8,000 logs. And you can go on there now on the CQ website if you submitted a log, and you can see now, before scores get checked and adjusted and all, you can see where you actually are standing in placement for your call area or your country, or various ways to slice and dice it. And that's all available now online on the CQWW.com site. So some people are, and for good reason, if you're not experienced in this game, are a little bit intimidated when they start hearing all these words like, Cabrillo and ADIF files and all this stuff, right? And they're saying, oh man, I guess I have to go back to computer science school to be able to enter the CQ Worldwide. Well, the good news is that if you're using any kind of a logging program like N1MM or WinTest or something like that, N1MM is a great choice for a lot of people because it appeals to ham's basic DNA. It's free. All of the logging programs do all the heavy lifting for you. They create the files you need on the output side after the contest, and submitting the log is really, honestly, a pretty simple process that when you go onto the CQ Worldwide site, you'll see it just kind of guides you through the steps. And, everybody gets challenged with this, including myself sometimes when I'm working on somebody's log and trying to get it submitted for them. But you can always reach out to us with the contact page on the CQ site. All that mail comes to me, all 400 of them per mode. And all 300 to 400 of them, every single one of them usually gets answered within a day or less when I get it. So, it really does work. So worst case, if you're having problems and you can't figure out how to do this stuff, and I get it, just send me a note and say, I'm struggling here, and we'll work through. What doesn't work as well, and as you might imagine, we see logs that come in with amazing variants of formats. 98% of them are the ones that are created by the computer logs, the logging programs. But every once in a while, we'll get a PDF, we'll get an Excel spreadsheet, a Word document, a JPEG, and things like that. And even those, we'll work with you and get it figured out for you, and you'll get to see your call in print and on the website and everywhere else. So it really is helpful for us to, as we're going through the log checking process, which is not a court of law. It's simply saying, hey, you said you worked this guy. Let's see if you did. And the way we can tell is by looking at his log. Oh, you're in that log and you're in your log. Check, you made it. You passed the test. So that's why we do all this. And whether you got a tiny little 100 QSO or 50 QSO log, or you worked 10,000 people, they're all valuable, and we really would ask that you all try to send them in.
Very good. All right. Well, we're going to take a break right now, but when we come back, I've got a kind of tough question to ask John here. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about some of the hardware that you can receive when we come back with John right after this word from Tower Electronics right here on Ham Talk Live.
His 2 cents is worth $37 in change. He once ran a marathon because it was on his way to Dayton. He works FT8 by ear. He once worked North Korea on every band in 1 minute using only a microwatt. He slowed down his code speed to work a de-expedition to 200 words a minute. He is, indeed, the most interesting ham in the world.
I don't always put on my own PL259s, but when I do, I prefer them from Tower Electronics. Stay resident, my friends.
Tower Electronics has all the adapters, cables, connectors, and yes, PL259s you need at a hamfest near you, or visit pl-259.com.
And on the Tower Electronics Hamfest schedule, they'll be in Fort Wayne, Indiana on November 19th and 20th, Ocala, Florida, December 2nd and 3rd, and Plant City, Florida, December 9th and 10th. But you can visit them anytime at pl-259.com.
Running barefoot is for the beach. We're cranking 1.5 trillion nanowatts right here on Ham Talk Live.
Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And coming up here in just a moment, we'll come back to John Dorr, K1AR, talking about CQ Worldwide CW. But for right now, it's time for the Joke of the Week.
Now it's time for the Ham Talk Live Ham Radio Joke of the Week, the part of the show where Rick tells us a ham radio joke. The Ham Talk Live Ham Radio Joke of the Week is brought to you by QRM Labs. Now, here's Rick Garrett in 9 GSU with today's Ham Talk Live Joke of the Week.
The other day, a buddy of mine told me he got Mexico on his ham radio. That's no big deal. I opened my window and got chili.
This has been the Ham Talk Live Ham Radio Joke of the Week with Rick Garrett in 9 GSU. Tune in again next week for another joke from Rick.
We are back here on Ham Talk Live with John Dorr, K1AR, the CQ Worldwide DX Contest Director, and we have CQ Worldwide CW coming up Thanksgiving weekend in the United States, the last weekend of November. So we want to try to help get you ready for that. And John, one of the big controversial things right now in contesting is we do have some wartime situations going on, and there's been a lot of controversy over Russian participation in contesting, and CQ Worldwide is no exception. So kind of wanted to ask you what's being done here with the Russians' participation in these contests.
Sure. Well, this is a topic that, frankly, every sponsor of a contest, as well as awards programs and any kind of on-air activity is dealing with right now. And the question is, how do we respond to what's happening in the geopolitical world of the Ukraine and Russia in particular? And it's been a challenge. The original position that CQ magazine took, which really was initiated right after the events over in the Ukraine began in March, was to basically put a ban on accepting entries from Russian hams, and basically they could operate the contest, but their logs would not be accepted, and they were not eligible for awards or anything like that. In this case, in the WPX contest, which takes place the end of March and then later in the end of May for CW. So as we were rolling through the summer, I think everyone hoped, for many better reasons, that things would change geopolitically. And as we're sadly seeing, the conflict continues. And as we were coming up to the time of the CQ Worldwide here in the fall, we had to ask the question again, and that is, do we maintain this policy? Should we do something different? Because the thing that was nagging, I think, at us was the fact that ham radio, for all of its existence, has really taken pride in sort of separating itself from all the controversies that seem to, in particular, are rising to the surface nowadays, whether it's politics or religion or gender or war. All of these things are things that ham radio has kind of avoided very intentionally. And it seemed a little bit contradictory to be taking a position with that backdrop in our history. So after a whole lot of discussion, the bottom line that was included was for the CQ Worldwide, and actually all of CQ's contests going forward, is that we have allowed for Russian and Belarus hams both, who were previously banned, to now operate and participate. They can submit logs. We did have one caveat, though, and that is that we're continuing to exclude their ability to receive awards in CQ contests. But other than that, they are basically allowed to operate and enter the contest. And the thinking behind it was actually very simple, and that is that rather than trying to create a one-size-fits-all, sort of moral statement on what you should do as a ham in this situation, we decided that we should leave that up to the operators themselves, individually, one by one, and you have the choice of working other Russian hams or not, or anybody for that matter. Rather than trying to create a rule that fits all that you may in fact disagree with. And what we learned as we reached out to the contest community is that this was a much more desirable conclusion. That and what we saw was that there was a number of folks who did take a personal stand and did not operate the contest for moral reasons, and the vast majority of folks did, as we see by the 9,000 logs that came in. And I think for now, that's probably the right position. CQ is holding to the idea that if things change, for the worse or the better, that certainly the option to adjust what is happening right now can take place, just like we did recently for this round. And I think it's everyone's hope that all of this goes away and we can really just get back to doing what we love, and that's just getting on the radio and having fun. So that's really why we do all this, and that's why I hope we continue to do it in the future.
Okay, very good. Well, let's talk about some of those awards. You said you have several plaques, and you get the fun job of making sure those get distributed to the winners and created. So let's talk about the plaques and who those go to, and how all that works. And do you need any sponsors for plaques? Well,
we have a group of incredibly generous sponsors who are sponsoring, as I mentioned earlier, pushing close to 200 plaques, which is far and away the largest program out there in any contest I'm aware of in terms of numbers. And the need for sponsors is not large, but it's greater than zero. The best way to review that, again, is to just go to the CQ Worldwide website. There's a tab on the top there for plaques, so you can see what's being offered, as well as where there's need for sponsorship, and I update that in real time as things change. It's very easy to do. And one of the things that's nice about it is that you can see something that maybe is a fit for you in terms of your station or your experience or your desire to operate, and you can actually set as one of your personal goals to say, I want to go after that plaque, right? And those plaques are available for all those categories I mentioned earlier. I mentioned briefly how we initiated a new program centered on under 25 youth, and Neil here has been a very, very strong supporter of that, both in terms of sponsorship and encouragement. And we created 14 plaques just for youth last year. And it's funny. I am because there's just a lot going on. I'm perpetually behind in the plaque game of getting these things out the door. So I beg in advance for mercy from those that are due one and are listening. But I will say that not surprisingly, the youth guys who are used to instantaneous results on the internet and everything else, the contest will be about three hours old. And they'll say, "Hey, have you shipped my plaque yet?"
That has not surprised me at all.
So, but that's good for them. I'm glad they're beating on us and in a good way and keeping us honest. But particularly for the youth, what I learned in talking to a number of young guys about how to put this together, these things are meaningful. They're meaningful in a lot of different ways, which is why I take it so seriously. I got an email from a family, obviously, not obviously, but an email from a family over in Eastern Europe, who the Ham and the family had passed away from COVID, but they received the plaque, and they were just so happy to be able to honor their family member and put it on the wall as kind of that person's last thing that they did in ham radio contesting. And that plaque probably meant more to them than any other thing that came in the mailbox, all these years that they were participating. So you can never underestimate the story. So many of these plaques are now done in memory of people who have left us, become silent keys, and we can perpetuate their memory in a very positive way and have that name hanging on somebody's wall, proudly, that they achieved that award and that accomplishment in memory of the individual and the family that sponsored it. So it's really a great thing.
Well, I know there were some young people that will be anxiously awaiting those plaques, and it was nice to be able to jump in and I know with the youth, I think all of yours were filled within like a few days, weren't they?
It was phenomenal. We put the word out, and literally the spot. I didn't even have to really ask. People were kind of coming to me, which was a nice problem. One other thing I'd say about awards is that if you submit a log and the log is on time, in other words, it's not past the deadline, you're able and eligible to get a certificate. Regardless of where you place, and you can download that right off the website, and it's actually a pretty handsome certificate. It's been the same format that the CQ's used for many years, and everyone who participates and sends a login can get one.
Yeah, those are very, very nice and much appreciated. And yeah, I know we just signed on for another plaque from Yoda for the Ready contest, which you don't have to handle the plaques on that one, but that's being added, the youth category over there, and same kind of story. We a few of us got together, and those plaques were all filled within no time. So make sure you check out that list, on the website. And if there's one out there that needs a sponsor, consider doing that. It's not overly expensive to do that. But it can be a nice reminder. And I'm glad you shared some of the stories here of what those plaques do mean to families and people around the world. So that's pretty cool. Well, John, I think
I could add one. Sorry, I could add one other quick story. This just happened recently. One of the winners last year in last year's contest was a Mongolian station, and it turns out that there's no easy way for, I guess, COVID reasons or whatever, to get mail from here to Mongolia. And it turned out that there was a Mongolian ham who lives here in the U.S. now, who was going to be traveling back to Mongolia. And I was able to snag the plaque, ship it to him out in the West Coast, U.S. West Coast. And he hand carried it on the plane to Mongolia. And then they sent me a picture of the team together, all holding their plaque, in the shack. And I just thought about, again, what transpired from the time I typed in the letters that were going to be on that plaque, to ordering the plaque, to having it sent to me, having it paid for, to getting it shipped, to getting it hand carried over there and have it eventually be on their wall. Right? And it's just cool to see these things. They were super proud, I'll tell you. You could see it.
I bet. That's a very cool story. Thanks for sharing that. Well, John, we are out of time here today, but I want to thank you for coming on and sharing some information about CQ Worldwide CW coming up and all the things around it, and look forward to doing this with you again soon.
All righty, my pleasure, and please reach out through the contact page on the website if you have questions or problems or anything that's on your mind. I love hearing from people, so don't be shy.
And that website is cqww.com, correct?
You got it. Okay. Yep, that's it.
All right. So make sure you check that out.
All you guys, looking forward to a busy time in a couple of weeks.
All right, John. Thanks so much for being here. And yeah, let's try to keep John busy with all this stuff. So Well, that is a wrap for this edition of Ham Talk Live. I'd like to thank my guest, John Dorr, K1AR, and everybody out there in cyberspace for listening, and invite you back next time for a list of all of our upcoming guests. Just go to hamtalklive.com. So for now, this is Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, saying 7375, and may the good DX be yours.
So 73 to you and your family. I'll be seeing you further down below. Yeah, 73 to you and your family. I'll be seeing you further down.